Hello, welcome to Word Nerd Wednesday, live from Venice. I wanted to give you a better view, but the sun is on the water, so I can't give you the view because the sun is blocking it. But I wanted to talk today about the words, let's see if I can do this, words entitlement and the words accountability, accountable, and account. Entitlement is really quick and dirty because I looked up entitled and entitlement and was very disappointed to find out that it is literally the meaning of it is in title. In comes from a pi root word, Proto-Indo-European root word, en meaning in, and title comes from Latin titulus or titulus, meaning title. So entitled literally means at its heart to title, which I don't think really, I think is so far removed from the way that we use it today. To be entitled, to feel entitled, to have entitlement. This is a worlds apart from this word, which is probably why so many people can ignore it, because it doesn't have rooted meaning in what it means. So that's just a quick one, because I thought I was going to have a big spiel about entitlement and stuff, and then I found out the word is kind of bunk. So what we're going to do is move into accountability, which takes us to accountable, which takes us to account. Accountability being the youngest sister, accountable being the middle sister, and account being the original gangster. So accountability was coined around 1770, at least that's when it was documented as being used, probably in the written way, and it means state of being answerable. It is from accountable and itty, and was prior to being accountability, accountableness, which was circa 1660s. So that means that this concept has been around for, well, developed over a 100-year period, and probably beforehand, because again, written language only talks about when things came into written form, not into spoken form. So because accountability means accountable and itty, we go to accountable. Accountable, circa 1400s, means answerable. Literally it means liable, to be called to account. It is, again, mid-14th century, Anglo-French, from Old French, accountable, and then after that it says see account and able, right? So we followed a rabbit. But first we go from accountability, the state of being answerable, to accountable, liable to be called to account, and also answerable to account. Now account gets interesting because there's account the noun and there's account the verb, and also account the way that we mean it in personal socialization, like personable socialization, that someone should be accountable, came around the exact same time that accountable came about. So these things were coexisted. You could both be an accountant and you had to be accountable whether or not you were an accountant. So they came about circa 1300s into a written language. So account the verb, the thing that you do, comes from 1300s, means to count, enumerate, from Old French, accompter, to enumerate, reckon up, render, account. From Modern French, compteur, from to, which means to, and compteur, to count, tell, to count, okay? But account the noun, also 1300s, comes from counting, especially reckoning of money received and paid, detailed statement of funds owed or spent or property held, from Old French account, and then, which means financial account, reckoning, terminal payment, and then from count, and from late Latin computus. So what's interesting is that even though that's why English is so ridiculous, right? They're spelled the exact same way. They came about almost into writing at the exact same time, and yet both of them come from different roots. One comes from Modern French, or from Old French, and in Modern French it exists too, and the other one jumped on the bandwagon phonetically of where the Modern French came from, but it actually comes from late Latin. As well, though, I want to talk about accountable because I find it interesting that the verb and the noun have different origins, because, well, one, because English is weird and it's spelled the same way, but mainly because I think people these days consider account to be accountable, something that one something that one can describe, can present, shows, describes, or presents. However, account from accountability account from accountable from accountability, or vice versa, accountability from accountable from account, is actually a verb, an action. It's something that one does. But I think these days that people consider being accountable something that one presents. Like you only need to be accountable when it's demanded of you by someone else, presumably somebody else you consider of more authority. And yet, account is actually something you must do yourself. You must hold yourself accountable. You must do the things, you must account, which is what? To tell, to count, but also, my other words, to be answerable, state of being answerable, to be called to account. It's important that you do that in your own life, right? If you're not taking account in your daily life, then when someone comes to you and demands of you accountability, what are you going to present to them? You're not going to have anything to present to them because you haven't organized your life in this way. Now, account the thing, the presentation, let's say, which is actually more like a numerical thing, right? It is quantitative, not qualitative. I think account is a qualitative word that has quantitative aspects. And I think that a lot of people, the way that accountability is exhibited in this day, is exercised, is used, is inhabited, a lot more people act as if it is a quantitative thing that has qualitative features. And yet that is not the case. Even though, yes, they come from around the same time, and one comes from Latin, one comes from Old French. So actually, this is a short video. I wanted to talk about that, but I guess I'll talk about why I was thinking about entitlement and why I was thinking then to go to accountable when I realized entitlement wasn't as juicy as I had hoped. Because entitlement, too, at least the way that it's meant in modern language, which now I have to look up in a proper dictionary, not an etymology dictionary, because we already established that it doesn't mean what we think it means. Am I gonna move you over? Entitlement, the fact of having a right to something, the amount to which a person has a right, way better description, and the belief that one is inherently deserving of privileges or special treatment. I mean, how does to title? Well, I mean, I get that though, because title, that's what I should have done. I should have looked up title after that and then gone down that rabbit hole. Next Word Nerd Wednesday with entitlement. But the reason that I was thinking about it was because as wondrous and lovely as my Venice vacay and beginning of my European vacation has been and looks and is, I'm also dealing with something with my health that is yet to be described and causes all sorts of aberrations on my skin and discomfort and itching. It's not sexually transmitted, people. In fact, no doctor knows what it is. Every doctor I've been to has told me it's something else, so it's a mystery, because American medicine can help you the fuck out if you have cancer or leukemia, unless it's some of these new rare breeds. But if you have a topical issue, they can't help you because they're never willing to address diet, and we don't have sophisticated tests to determine what toxins are to the body and what allergies people have, and we're not accountable. You see what I'm saying? You see the relation? But why I wanted to talk about entitlement is because entitlement is not just something that you have over others or believe you have over others. Entitlement is also something you believe you have over your existence, right? Every human, yeah. I think people confuse free will and entitlement. That's originally what I was going to talk about, because free will means that, yes, you can do whatever you want. Entitlement is you think you can do whatever you want. There's a difference between being able and assuming that you can. So I was thinking this because I probably have food allergies. I definitely could be making better dietary decisions, and yet I feel entitled over my body in my experience, where I'm like, I'm gonna do what I want to do, and then my body is like, but I don't want to do that. And me, in my id, in my intellect, in my cerebralness, am ruling over my body and feeling entitled to the entirety of my existence, when my body has a voice too, and my body is trying to tell me that I need other things, and I am not listening. So that all is to say, you can be entitled about your own motherfucking self, and typically that's probably how it starts, because why would you feel entitled over other people if you didn't feel entitled over yourself? And yes, this stems from a belief that there is greater purpose to life than nothing. So if you hold that belief, I just don't know what you're observing. What is nothing? Literally, what is nothing? Nothing is nothing. You have atoms so tiny between you and everything else that you never actually touch anything. That ain't nothing. So, all that is to say, entitled, entitlement, accountability, accountable, account, and next time we talk, the difference between free will and entitlement and the word title, which will help us because that's where the capitalism came in, right? This is the kings and queens and all this stuff. So next time, join me. I don't know what country I'll be in, but we will find out next week. In fact, I do know what country I'll be in. I'm going to be in Spain, okay? So talk to you then and have a wonderful one. Bye-bye. Oh, let me give you views. Views.